New York Rangers entered the 2025 NHL Draft with no first-round pick, but that does not mean they did not potentially get some future New York Rangers who could possibly end up having a massive impact and could possibly end up help getting this team back on track to potentially winning a Stanley Cup. And in today's video, we're going to take a look at the entire 2025 draft class of the New York Rangers and just break down each of these picks by the Rangers and talk about each of these prospects individually and really kind of break down what they could possibly bring for this Rangers team one day. So let's get into it now and start things off with the first prospect who the Rangers took with the second round pick they had, number 43 overall. And that is Malcolm Spence. And I did make a video going in depth on this player individually there. It was like a 12-minute video or something like that, I believe. So if you haven't already, definitely go check out that video there. It's a full in-depth kind of breakdown on Malcolm, but I'll give you a quick kind of little summary here on Malcolm. I'm not going to spoil too much there, but he is a pretty solid kind of well-rounded forward. Was projected to be more of a kind of player selected in the kind of 20-25 range. So I think is an actual steal there. Is a Team Canada kind of guy there. Has won the U18 Hlinka Gretzky with Team Canada, scoring the gold medal game-winning goal there. He's also won a gold at the U18 World Juniors with Team Canada. He's been a kind of big game kind of guy there. Shows up in the biggest moments there. Over a point per game this regular season there with the Erie Otters. Is committed to the University of Michigan there. Pretty solid physical, all-around kind of forward there. I think projects to possibly be a second-line player. And if you want some more information on him, like I said, definitely go check out yesterday's video where I really go kind of in-depth on really what he can possibly bring for this Rangers team. But let's take a look at the second player the Rangers took in this draft with pick number 70 overall in the third round, and that was Shawn Barnhill, who was projected to go kind of somewhere around this range there. Some people had him more of as a kind of second rounder, but lots of people had him around the kind of second to third round range. So not bad value, not necessarily a super kind of big steal, but a pretty solid value pick here for the Rangers. And they get a big 6'5", over 200-pound right-handed defenseman. Definitely a pretty intriguing prospect there. He's known as being a pretty good kind of mobile defenseman there, especially for a guy who's 6'5" there. He is a defensive defenseman there, more of a kind of shutdown guy, really good at kind of shutting down rushes there, using his big size to his advantage there, his good skating ability, obviously. Just a really solid kind of all-around big, tough, strong defender. Can lay some massive, big, heavy hits as well, which is always nice to kind of have on your team. So can be a big, tough, kind of physical, shutdown defenseman there. Really good at shutting down rushes, like I said there, and can also, after kind of shutting down those rushes, kind of turn things around there and go the other way as well. So he seems like a pretty solid kind of, definitely more defensive defenseman there, but a big 6'5" mobile defenseman, can kill penalties there. Definitely needs to work on his kind of offensive game there, but has a little bit there offensively, decent pass, decent puck mover. So overall, a pretty intriguing prospect there, and definitely not a bad kind of guy to take a shot on in the third round there with a, big 6'5" frame there, good skating ability. Definitely a prospect we're taking a risk on in the third round there. He's 18 years old, turning 19 in January, so definitely, obviously, still quite young there. Definitely not an older prospect, so I'm excited to see what he can do going forward. And he is committed to Northeastern University in the 2026-27 season. And this past season, though, did end up playing in the USHL with the Dubuque Fighting Saints, where he ended up having 54 games played, 4 goals, 8 assists, 12 points in the playoffs there. Had 7 games played, 1 assist for 1 point. Next up here with the Rangers in the third round with pick number 89, they select RTM Gonchar, the nephew of former NHLer Sergei Gonchar. Of course, he was a great player back in his day, and his nephew here, RTM, is getting taken by the Rangers in the third round, and it seems like a bit of a reach, I'm going to be honest here. He definitely seems like he was kind of projected to go a lot later in this draft, but he ends up getting taken in the third round here. He is a left-handed defenseman, only 6 foot, 157 pounds, so pretty kind of small there, fairly undersized. Definitely needs to add on some more muscle there, some more strength, some more kind of weight there, of course, if he wants to make it at the NHL level. But I think a bit of an intriguing guy because he is a really kind of talented offensive defenseman. 25 points, 50 games played last season there for Magnitogorsk in the MHL, the Russian Junior League. Not bad numbers, but nothing too insane. And of course, at the end of the day there, he is a pretty big kind of liability defensively. Definitely has some kind of flaws there. Can quarterback a power play. So all around offensively, like he's a good skater, good passer, good playmaker. Solid goal scoring ability there, 7 goals, 50 games played, not bad, but it's the defensive game that is a pretty big issue for him there. He definitely has a lot of stuff to work on, but maybe could be something at the NHL level one day potentially. Next, the New York Rangers take with their 4th round pick, number 111 overall, a Norwegian-born prospect from Oslo, the same place Mats Zuccarello was from, and that is Mikkel Ericson. And this is a pretty intriguing prospect, 5'11 center, 187 pounds, left-handed shot, only 17 years old, and doesn't turn 18 until September 13. So he is pretty much as young as you can possibly get in this draft class. So that's kind of nice, obviously. Pretty solid kind of two-way center, though, reliable in both ends, but from what I can tell, is a pretty deceptive attacker there. Good offensive threat there, has some soft hands there, good offensive kind of just skills there in general, good hands. I think is a pretty solid kind of talented offensive threat, but seems like a relatively kind of good defensive center as well. Good face-off taker. Had 40 games played this past season in the Swedish U20 league there for Farjestad BK, junior 20 team there. He had 40 games played. 22 goals, 21 assists, 43 total points, and in the playoffs had 2 games played, 1 goal, 1 assist, 2 points there. Also spent a lot of the time with, the U18 team for Norway and the U20 squad as well, where he put up some really good point totals for them as well, for the U20 World Junior team in the Division 1A there. So as they're trying to get back up to the top level of the World Juniors there, their U20 squad, he had 4 points there, 3 assists, 1 goal, and 5 games played for the U20 squad there as, like a 17-year-old. So I think that's pretty good overall there. Seems like a pretty solid prospect and just a solid all-around kind of two-way center from Norway. Next, we've got a 5th round pick of the Rangers, number 139 overall, and that is a Swedish-born prospect, Zeb Lingren, a 6'1", about 200-pound left-handed defenseman. He has represented his home country, of course, of Team Sweden at the U18 level and, at the youth levels before that and stuff, but seems like a pretty intriguing prospect there. Decent kind of two-way defenseman, a bit more of a defensive kind of guy, though. Questions about his kind of offensive game translating to the next level, but pretty solid player there, has some good production and good play at the U20 level there over in Sweden with Skellefteå AIK. Play with their U20 team there, having 38 games played this season there, 19 points, 4 goals, 15 assists in the playoffs there, 1 assist, 1 point in 9 games played at the U20 level. But then at the SHL level, the top Swedish level there, had 5 games played, no points. But I think that's pretty nice to see him have, at least an opportunity there at the top level there with Skellefteå in Sweden, the top league over there, a very good, pro men's league, of course. That's nice to see a young prospect get a little taste there, of course, and, now heading into his kind of, 18-year-old season will maybe get more of an opportunity there, possibly at the top level. We'll have to wait and see whether or not he can kind of crack their roster, but this is definitely a fairly intriguing prospect there. Solid two-way guy, good puck mover, really great skating ability. Definitely more of a defensive guy, but solid all-around game. But like I said, definitely more of a defensive guy. Good shutdown ability, possibly. Good defensive awareness, good positioning. Uses his skating ability to his advantage on the kind of offensive and defensive end. But there are some kind of question marks from some people about his overall offensive game translating, I guess, to the kind of pro level for the long-term future. Next up here, we've got Samuel Jung, who was taken in the 6th round by the Rangers with pick number 166 overall, and I'm going to be honest, I could not get much information at all on this guy. He is an overage player, was passed over in the draft. He's already 19, turning 20 in May, so an older prospect, obviously. Right winger, 6'3", Czechia-born prospect, 172 pounds, left-handed shot, was ranked number 300 by McKeen's Hockey. Not a whole lot of information on this guy. This past season was playing in the U20 league over there in Finland for Karpat. Had 32 points, in 44 games played, 22 goals, 10 assists. Maybe seems like a pretty solid goal scorer. Has some good size there. I don't know much about this guy, so I'm not going to talk too much about him, but there is something there maybe, I guess, we need to see with that possible goal-scoring ability and size with this, 6'3", Czechia-born winger. Next up here, I'm going to be honest, this is one of my favorite picks of the draft by this Rangers team, especially with the value they're getting this player at, and that is Evan Passmore in the 6th round with pick number 171 overall. He is a big, tough, mean, old-school physical defenseman, 6'5", 212-pound right-handed shot defenseman. Like I said, taken the 6th round there by the Rangers with their second 6th round pick, and I really like this pick a lot here. This is a big, like I said, mean, tough, physical, really just mean, old-school kind of defenseman there, that type of player. Exact kind of what this team needs more of, some good, just tough physical play on the back end, but he's also a really good shutdown defenseman there, can shut down the play on the rush there. doesn't turn the puck over a lot. Just a very good, reliable defensive defenseman there with a big kind of mean streak to him there. Really good physical, tough play with him as well, but also just a good kind of shutdown guy. Definitely someone who I'm excited to see what he can do there. I watch a lot of OHL hockey, so we'll get to go watch him possibly play in person this year as well. He's definitely an intriguing kind of prospect there, and only had 11 points this past season there in 62 games played with the Barrie Colts there. A pretty solid OHL team, but obviously not a lot of offense to his game there in the playoffs. No points in 16 games played, but defensively and physically, he is going to be really great possibly for this Rangers team one day in the NHL. And next up here, the last pick of the 2025 draft for the Rangers. They take a Swedish-born defenseman, Felix Faramar, with their 7th round pick, number 203 overall. He seems like a decent kind of two-way defenseman, pretty well-rounded there. Nothing too kind of crazy about his game. Nothing really kind of he excels at necessarily. Just a good, well-rounded defenseman. He is currently playing, of course, over in the J20, Sweden league there. Also got a little bit of a taste in the SHL, the top Swedish league over there as well for a couple games, but didn't do anything too crazy. But did have, like I said, 2 games played in the SHL. Then did have 43 games played at the J20 level there for Örebro HK, having 3 goals, 18 assists, 21 points, not bad at all, but did have a plus 25 rating there. And also in the playoffs, did have 4 games played, 4 points, 1 goal, 3 assists, plus 4. So seems like I said, a decently well-rounded defenseman, solid kind of two-way guy, can definitely contribute some offense there, in the J20 level there, had 8 points this past season there, so obviously dominated there in 5 games played, so that was pretty great to see. So he's definitely a good kind of two-way guy, can contribute offensively as well, but it's nice to see that he got a couple games there in the SHL. Maybe he can get more of a sample size there with them this upcoming season, as he's still only 18, turning 19 in April, 6'1", 185-pound left-handed defenseman. I think it's a pretty solid pick there for the 203rd pick of the 2025 draft there. You're kind of taking a shot in the dark, obviously, but seems like a decent kind of shot there, I guess, with Felix Faramar, who, maybe gets a decent, like I said, a decent sample size with the SHL team, Örebro HK, in the top league over there in Sweden. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching today's video. If you have enjoyed, definitely don't forget to click that like and subscribe button for daily New York Rangers content. And also, definitely don't forget to comment down below your thoughts on today's video. Do you like some of these prospects? Which ones do you like? Do you dislike? Which ones do you think we got some good value at? I think that 2nd round pick was pretty great value. I made a video yesterday on Malcolm Spence in particular there, the 43rd overall pick of the Rangers, because he was a kind of former kind of projected kind of 1st round pick there, ends up falling to the 2nd round there. I think that was pretty great value. So there is a video up on the Rangers' actual first pick of the draft up yesterday, so go check that out if you want to get some kind of more information on him. But anyways, comment your thoughts on this draft down below. I'll catch you next one, and let's go Rangers.